Namaskar. Good morning. In this session today, we are going to touch upon the main points and salient features of philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. It is a part of one full unit titled Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. So today we'll do Mahatma Gandhi. For next week, we will do Rabindranath Tagore. Right? So this is going to be a brief session. Let us listen and ponder over the main points of Mahatma Gandhi's life, his times, and his main points, of philosophy and his works. So, objectives, introduction, Gandhiji, Gandhi, life, influence, and basic philosophy, God and truth, nature of the world, concept of human person, social and political philosophy. No philosophical consideration will be complete without any reference to Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. As I said, Tagore we are going to take up next week, who lived in the stirring and crucial time of the history of India and contributed a lot to the philosophical, ethical, social, political, religious, and economic systems and theories. The most important objective of this unit is to help the students follow the philosophical stream of thoughts evident in the works and teaching of both Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Today we are going to do Mahatma Gandhi. The philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi is a comprehensive system. His philosophy is not an abstract system of thought. Credit goes to him for blending philosophy with life, abstract principle with concrete reality of facts, religion with politics, and ethics with a program for social evolution. His system is a synthetic unity of different sciences. Now let us look at Gandhi's life, influences, and basic philosophy. Mahatma Gandhi was born in a Baniya family in Kathiawar, Porbandar, Gujarat in 1869. After his early childhood, his family shifted to Rajkot. It is here that he painfully and at times tumultuously spent the years of his youth. After completing his high school studies, he left for England in 1887, where he qualified as a lawyer. Back in India, he went to South Africa to deal with a legal matter. In South Africa, he became a leader of the Indian community. After several years at the service of the Indians of South Africa, he left for India in 1914. At Ahmedabad, by the side of Sabarmati River, he built his Satyagraha ashram to prepare people for non-violent struggle. Soon he assumed an important role in India's freedom struggle. After a few limited attempts at utilizing the method of satyagraha to deal with various injustices, he launched a nationwide agitation in 1919. Then he saw that people were not ready for a non-violent fight and he decided to suspend the struggle. After spending a long time in educating people, he launched a nationwide action in 1930, Quit India movement. After this confrontation with Dr. Ambedkar, After his confrontation with Dr. Ambedkar, he turned his attention to social problems such as untouchability and social inequality. In 1934, he left Congress and withdrew from active politics. Back to the political scene, in 1939, he organized a movement of individual satyagraha as protest against the war politics of British government. After the war, that is Second World War, when India's independence was drawing near, we find Gandhiji deeply concerned with the Hindu-Muslim tensions. At the time of independence, he went to Calcutta to try to avoid bloodshed and violence. And then he back to Delhi, he was, as we know, assassinated in 1948 at a spot inside the Murti Bhavan. So we have given you in nutshell life sketch of Mahatma Gandhi. Now let us look at the main influences. The main influences on him were from Hindu and Christian teaching. Hindu and Christian teaching. The Jain teaching, with its radical demand of non-violence, had also an early influence on him. However, in his mature years, it is Gita, Bhagavad Gita, that played the greatest role in his life. Gandhi understood Gita as the gospel of detachment and non-violence. Gita teaches that God is present in everything and that this divine presence leads us to see the basic spirituality of human life. Now let us look at his concept of God and truth. We can find a basic consistency in his thought. The focal point of his consistency is the concept of truth. What is truth? The quest to know truth is an ever unfinished quest, and life is a continuous experiment with truth. In this attempt of reaching the truth, one relies on the two pillars of faith and reason. Gandhi seems to have two models to speak of God: a theistic model that is closely related to his old Vaishnava faith, and an Advaitic type of absolutism. In the absolute model, God appears as an impersonal force or power, or as a divine law and as truth. Gandhi agreed that we could say that God is love, but he felt that the word love is used in many ways and can be ambiguous. So he prefers to say God is truth. Later, Gandhi went further and said that truth is God. Wherever one finds truth, there one finds God also. Gandhi accepts the main features of Hindu tradition with regard to man, woman, and the world. As a moral philosopher, Gandhi's ethics is basically that of intuitionist. The small voice within oneself must always be the final arbitrator when there is a conflict of duty. The inner voice is the voice of God or the voice of truth. From the point of view of objective standard in ethics, Gandhi is an ethical naturalist. Man's or woman's nature is defined in terms of non-violence. When man or woman acts violently, he or she breaks the basic law of his or her own being. Gandhi did not accept the principle that quote unquote end justifies the means. As the means, so the end. There is no wall of separation between the means and the end. Realization of the goal is in exact proportion to that of the means. While speaking about the fundamental moral virtues, he says morality includes truth, ahimsa, and continence. Every virtue that mankind has ever practiced is referable to and derived from these three fundamental virtues of truth, ahimsa, that is non-violence, and continence, brahmacharya. Non-violence appears as the means and truth of the goal. Continence appears to be necessary to reach the self-control which is necessary to dedicate oneself more and more fully to truth and non-violence. Now let us look at his concept of nature of the world. It is very difficult to outline precisely Gandhi's views on the nature of the world, as his remarks on the nature of the world are both casual and scattered. But a close journey along with the works and words of Gandhi will tell us that he has a profound philosophy on the world. Gandhi believes that nature is the expression of God and it is the evidence of all pervasive reality. Gandhi says, I quote, God manifests himself in innumerable forms in this universe, and every such manifestation commands my reverence, unquote. Gandhi also observes a force behind the laws of the universe which maintains the world in harmony, gives an order, and saves the world from destruction. From him, this force is nothing but God, and the laws are nothing but the ways of the working of that force. Now, what is coming to the next subtopic concept of human person in Gandhi's philosophy? Gandhi feels that man or woman is a complex being. The bodily man or woman is the apparent man and woman. His or her body is natural insofar as it is akin to other objects of nature. The body grows and decays according to the laws of nature, but this aspect of a human represents merely the physical aspect. Man or woman is not merely a physical being. He or she has many other characteristics which are not just physical. He or she has consciousness, reason, conscience, will, emotion, and similar other qualities. He or she has an aesthetic sense, a feeling sensibility, and an insight into the nature of good and bad. These are not physical activities, but rather these are all expressions of the real man woman, of the spirit or soul present in him or her. He believes that every individual is a mixture of the bodily and the spiritual. Both physical and spiritual constitute a human being, an individual. According to him, evolution is a change from the physical to the spiritual, aiming at the complete realization of divinity. The elements of divinity present in every human being are expressed in different ways. They can be expressed by the way of presence of reason, conscience, free will, etc. He believes that man and woman can bring heaven on earth if he or she uses these divine elements in the right manner. Gandhi also believes in the essential spirituality and goodness of every man and woman. Essential spirituality and goodness of every man and woman that he believed in. Social and political philosophy. Gandhi speaks of non-violent society, non-violent state, and non-violent Swaraj. What is Swaraj? Independence. All societies are held together by non-violence, even as the earth is held in position by gravitation. Gandhi did not give a blueprint of the non-violent society. From his writings, we can see two main features of this society. First of all, decentralization of authority and village life. Society based on non-violence can only consist of groups settled in villages in which voluntary cooperation is the condition of dignified and peaceful existence. Centralization is a consistent with non-violent structure of society. Here, we shall have both economic and social equality. Economic equality is the master key to non-violent independence. Working for economic equality means abolition the eternal conflict between capital and labor. It means leveling down of the few rich in whose hands is concentrated the bulk of nations' wealth on the one hand and leveling up of the semi-starved naked millennials on the other. This economic equality is to be achieved not by nationalization and compulsory acquisition of the wealth, but by making the rich realize that they are not the owners of the goods that they have, but they are only trustees of the God. So, Gandhiji's very famous concept, trusteeship, is very central, trusteeship. That if you are an enabled and empowered person, and someone who can afford, you have to be the trustee for the not so privileged, for the poorer people, right? So, for Gandhi, social equality means a new approach to caste. Gandhi rejects the actual caste system because it contains the idea of inequality. So, he had an anti caste attitude. The idea of inequality must go. However, Gandhi believe that we must keep the idea of hereditary transmissions of profession. So, as far as caste is concerned, when it goes from father to son, then son to grandson, so that he believed in. That for economic practices or functions, you can maintain your caste, but this inequality between caste has to go. Man or woman must remain faithful to his or her traditional family duties. But the idea of inferiority and superiority is totally repugnant to this. We must not, however, forget that the duty prescribed by one's caste does not limit one's action for society. Having performed one's hereditary duty, one should free oneself to serve society in all possible ways. Non-violent state. Though Gandhiji speaks of democracy, it is not a centralized democracy. I quote him: in the true democracy of India, the heart is the village. True democracy cannot be worked by 20 individuals sitting at the center. It has to be worked out from below by the people of every village. The ultimate ideal of his political theory would rather be a state of enlightened anarchy. If national life becomes perfect and becomes self regulated, no representation becomes necessary. There is then a state of enlightened anarchy. In the ideal state, therefore, there is no political power, there is no state, but the ideal is never fully realized in life. Real Swaraj is reached when every man or woman has total political freedom. Concretely, this is the expressed in the following manner. I quote again Gandhiji. Real Swaraj will come not only by acquisition of authority by a few, but by acquisition of the capacity by all to resist authority when it is abused. In other words, Swaraj is to be attained by educating the masses to a sense of their capacity to regulate and control authority. Unquote. Now, let us come to his very famous practice and concept and idea that he is famous for, Satyagraha. The non-violent ways or means to attain the goal of Swaraj is Satyagraha. I repeat, the non-violent ways or means to attain the goal of Swaraj is Satyagraha. It is the non-resistance of the strong. He says, passive resistance, I quote again Gandhiji, passive resistance has no power to change man's heart. It is only what the weak offer because they are unable, not unwilling to offer armed resistance. Unquote. Satyagraha is based on three basic moral principles: truth, non-violence, and the law of suffering. Truth, non-violence, and the law of suffering. The reference to truth and non-violence is clear. The law of suffering is the acceptance to suffer rather than make the other suffer. Self suffering is the test of love. To suffer without any violence, outward or inward, one needs strength, courage, and fearlessness. Satyagraha implies a whole interior moral attitude of the Satyagrahi, someone who practices non-violent means, that is Satyagraha and Satyagrahi. I quote Gandhiji again. Satyagraha is gentle, it never wounds, it must never be the result of anger or malice. It is never fussy, never impatient, and never vociferous. It is a breach of Satyagraha to wish ill to an opponent or to say a harsh word to him or her with the intention of harming him or her. I unquote. Now let us come to yet another of his concept and idea, Sarvodaya society. The term Sarvodaya literally means rise of all. Sabki Uday, Sarvodaya, literally means rise of all. That is a society in which the good of all is achieved. Gandhi writes about India of his dream where goal of Sarvodaya is achieved. I quote, an India in which there shall be no high class and low class people, an India in which all communities shall live in perfect harmony. There can be no room in such an India for curse of untouchability or the use of intoxication, drinks, and drugs. Women will enjoy the same rights as men. Unquote. From the writings of Gandhi, five important aspects of Sarvodaya society can be identified. What are they? That five important aspects of Sarvodaya society of Gandhiji? They are Ram Rajya, in a way, kingdom of God, Sarva Dharma Sambhava, secularism, that is without any bias or preference to any particular religion, but equality among the religious communities. Swaraj, independent. Swadeshi, that is producing and manufacturing every essential thing in your own country. And Panchayat Raj, that is local self-government at the rural or village level. So Ram Rajya, Sarva Dharma Sambhava, Swaraj, Swadeshi and Panchayati Raj. Now let us come to his philosophy of poverty. What did he say about poverty? The solution Gandhi proposed to the acute problem of poverty was bread labor, quote unquote, this term. Again, I quote him. If every one of us bodily labors to earn his or her food, we would not see poverty which we find today in the world, unquote. He held the view that the poverty of the millions cannot be solved by big industries of the modern Western time, which is based on industrial capitalism, rationalistic materialism, and colonial imperialism. The introduction of machine into the production leads to the exploitation of masses by the small group of rich people through competition and marketing. Because of the demerits of heavy industries, Gandhi encouraged small scale industries. About spinning wheel, he wrote, I quote him, I would make a spinning wheel the foundation on which to build a sound village life. I would make the wheel as the center of a round which all other activities will evolve. Around which all other activities will evolve. That is center of a spinning wheel, the spinning cart wheel. Unquote. So with that, we have completed an overview, summary of Gandhiji's life, his times, the influences, and his philosophy on a number of concepts from Sarvodaya to Swaraj to Swadeshi to idea of poverty and the Ram Rajya, Sarva Dharma Sambhava. So with that, we complete the particular portion out of Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore on Gandhiji today, right? So let us sum up very briefly, and next week we'll go on to Rabindranath Tagore. Gandhi's system is a synthetic unit of different sciences. Humanism is the dominant principle in Gandhian philosophy. Gandhi speaks of two models to speak of God, namely a theistic model and an Advaitic type of absolutism. So, one is you believe in a form of God in which you concentrate, you meditate. The other one is Advaitic type that you are God, God is inside, God is in everything, the type of absolutism. He beautifully couples God with truth. He identifies God as truth and truth as God. The universe is considered as the expression of the absolute. Gandhi also finds the spiritual elements in the human being which acts as the basis of his or her dignity. Nonviolent state characterized by economical quality can be considered as the essence of his political philosophy. In summary, his system is an exalted one insofar as he gives to mankind a complete set of social, economic, political, ethical, and religious principles to govern individual and humanity. With that, we have summed up Gandhi's philosophy, the main aspects of Gandhi's philosophy. Thank you, listeners, learners, and students of MAPY, for your patient hearing. Wish you all the best for reading this uh, unit again and again and answer check your progress questions. I have already announced that your assignments have already been uploaded. It's been a week uploaded on the IGNU website under assignments. Due to pandemic and lockdown, there is no way that the hard material, the hard copies of study material can reach you in near future. Therefore, start working with the help of IGNU app content on your mobile. You can contact Ashutosh ji for the IGNU app content. Those who are not yet familiar with, you can write a mail to him. On the other hand, you have the entire PDF material on eGyan Kosh. So all the best for your learning. Namaskar.